What's going on, people? Welcome back to Curtis Shaw TV, back with another live stream, and today we'll be looking at the latest news surrounding Arsenal. 6 days to go, people, until the January transfer window closes. Will we get any more business done? Will we get that midfielder that I really feel like we need to give us that opportunity to hunt down Pep and Man City towards the end of the season, people? And obviously, a big game against Manchester City this Friday, which, when I think about it, I think is probably good for Arsenal that we're playing the game on Friday, because it then gives us the weekend to really concentrate on transfers. Obviously, the window closes on Tuesday. If we were playing on Sunday, they would have had to prepare it all weekend and then rush. I think the deal finishing, the game finishing on Friday night, it gives them the full opportunity to make sure they get some more business done. For me, we're definitely at least one transfer away from where I think we need to be. Big up to everyone in the chat. Hope you are well. Big up for tuning in today. Really enjoyed the show yesterday with Kev. Appreciate everyone tuning in for that. You know what? It's been a great time for the channel, man. We did the highlight show. And big up to everyone who watched that. We did a watch-along highlights. If you haven't watched that, go back and watch that. 15-minute highlights of the watch-along for those of you, that don't get to tune in for the whole watch-along. It's 3 hours, and I realise, not everyone can tune in. Go back and look at that and watch the show with Kev yesterday. It was shameless highlights. I can't lie. You know me, people. We don't hide from it, though. We embrace it, It is what it is. Football is an ever-changing game. And I always say this. If somebody isn't performing at football, you're not going to rate them. It's as simple as that, Arteta, I was not a fan of him when we was finishing 8th. And naturally, I don't think any Arsenal fan was in support of that. Now we're top of the league and we're flying. We'll all get behind that. And that's just the way football goes, people. It's a fickle sport. If a striker don't score for 20 games, you don't rate him. If he scores 20 goals in 20 games, he's a world beater. You print him on the back of your shirt. And that's just the way football goes, people. It is what it is, people. Make sure you like the video and subscribe. And to me and you, it's Wednesday. But to Arsenal, well, like you said, full chest, I was Arteta at 100%. But anyway, to me and you, it might be Wednesday. But to Arsenal, we're all in a good mood. So, makes sense. They're going to drop new training kit, people. New merch. For Arsenal, there's no way that we could get away with beating Tottenham and beating Manchester United with them dropping merchandise, people. I mean, there's not a lot to it, really, is there? I'm in a good mood as well with Arsenal, so I am in a danger zone at the moment where if Arsenal drop a training kit that gets hold of me a little bit, next day delivery could be happening. I don't know. For me, I don't go anywhere near this one. I can't lie. I feel like, you remember back in the day, you used to go on the computer at school and you'd go on Paint and you'd just make something on Paint. Yeah, you're right, that guy. I'm vulnerable right now. If Arsenal drops something that looks clean, summer's round the corner, planning holidays, nice T-shirt. But this, I mean, come on. It just looks like a regular Arsenal shirt and you've put a few stripes on the side of it, man. These men are on dial-up internet and gone on a Paint application and just threw some lines on the side of it. You need to work harder than this, It's Adidas. We're top of the league. I'm ready to spend if you are, I'm like Wenger, if we find something good, we will do it. But I ain't spending money on that. Inflation is real, people. Like I said, I am vulnerable right now to Arsenal merchandise. I ain't going anywhere near that. You're right, Smokey. Ray Parlour probably designed that. And we know Ray Parlour likes a pint every now and then. So maybe he'd had 10 or 15 pints when he designed this. Probably be about 70 quid as well. So, yeah, PE shirt settings, man. I won't be going near that one. That is for sure. So, yeah, that's not a good one. They didn't drop a banger there. That's definitely not one of their better ones. Anyway, let's look ahead. We've got quite a bit to get into. Press conference reaction. Didn't even know the press conference was out today. But I would imagine Arsenal will probably travel to Manchester tomorrow. So they would have done the press conference today. Press conference reaction. It's quite a long one. So a whole heap of waffle. I'm going to skip through most of it. I can't lie. And then we're going to get into the transfers straight away, people. Already 1,500 of you in here. Like the video and subscribe. We're back on Twitch as well now. Managed to sort out the chat. So, yeah, big up to everyone on Twitch. C-Unit Business. The red hoodie's there. Yeah, the red hoodie, man. I couldn't deny the red hoodie, man, with the old badge and that. And it was a good price, you know. So, yeah, I couldn't deal with walking out the shop on that. I think we'd just beaten Tottenham at the time. Anyway, let's look ahead. Let's talk transfers, people. We'll start with potential outgoings. Build up to the more exciting ones of the potential incomings, people. So, we start with outgoings. Couple of players. One looked like they could be going out. Second one looks like it won't happen. First of all, people, this broke about 15 minutes before I came on here. Some of you may have seen this story already. And just to put this into context, I've taken this off an Arsenal Twitter account. On the Daily Mail website, they've reported this story about Sambi Lokonga and put up a picture of Eddie Nketiah. I mean, Daily Fail. They call it Daily Fail for a reason. And, I mean, listen, I don't think I should say too much. You know, it's only Wednesday. Let me at least warm up into later in the week. But, yeah, they put up a picture of Eddie Nketiah reporting a story on Sambi Lokonga. I mean, if I speak, I am in big, big trouble. And I do not want to get in big trouble, people. Yeah, they've changed it. Well done. You know, let me not say too much, people. You know, there's a lot going on in the world right now. I better just keep things calm. But, you know, I'd love to know what's happening to the person that put that news story out. That's what I want to know, because that is a schoolboy error. But anyway, the story. Arsenal have rejected an approach from Monaco to sign Albert Sambi Lokonga on loan, with Mikel Arteta unwilling to part with another midfielder after losing Mohamed Elneny to a long-term injury. Now, we're going to talk about it in the press conference reaction, but I will elaborate on it before we even get into that. Mohamed Elneny, it was reported last week that he'd been injured in training. They're now saying that he's going to have another scan over the next 2 or 3 days. And he could, I'm not saying he is, he could be out for the rest of the season, Mohamed Elneny, which would be bad news. His contract runs until the summer. Arsenal have a 1-year option. People were saying there wasn't an injury and that maybe he was going to sign for Aston Villa, who were being linked with him. But Elneny could be out for the rest of the season with a knee injury. Which would be bad news and surely would force Arsenal to go into the market. I actually think this would have been a really good loan move for Sambi Lokonga. Monaco, good history in the French league, a better league than the Belgium league, opportunity for first-team football. But clearly with Elneny injured, we only really have 3 natural centre midfielders with Lokonga, Xhaka and Partey. Obviously, Zinni could go in there. So Elneny could be out for the rest of the season. People in the chat saying just loan him out anyway. Lord Panda said, bless you, Curtis. Good times as an Arsenal fan. Come on, you Gunners. Big up to you. Appreciate the support. Yeah, listen, the Daily Mail, man, one of the worst newspapers. I'm sorry. And you know, They seem to create headlines when it suits them, and yeah, let me not say too much, but they're a pretty scummy newspaper at times. Centre mid CDM needed within the next week. What do you make of Lokonga not being loaned out? I mean, listen, you know my thoughts on Sambi Lokonga. I don't think he's good enough at this moment in time to be an Arsenal player. It would have been a really good loan move for him, I think. To go and get himself back. You know, that confidence has gone. Ish, you cannot be calling me Shaw Conga. That's outrageous behaviour. I let you off because I love that picture, the Ozil and Sanchez one. I was at that game at West Ham. I think it would have been a great loan move for Sambi. I suppose the problem is there aren't enough players there. You know, if we had another midfielder, then maybe you could have let him go. If Elneny wasn't injured, you could have let him go. I'd still be tempted to let him go. If we get a midfielder in, but ultimately, if you're in a title race, you can't leave yourself short. So I get it. Now people look at I can't. I Mike's relax. You know, relax. You can't be comparing me to Bambi Lokonga. Shambi. It's a shame for Sambi that he can't go. But it is what it is, people. Physically, is not it. as I said with Sambi Lokonga, he confuses me when I watch him. I don't really understand what his game is based on. Is he a ball winner? Is he a ball player? Is he a goal scorer? Is he a protector? Is he ball retention? I don't really know what he's that good at. So, yeah, people calling me Shaw Conga, it's outrageous. There would have been timeouts, but there's so many of you doing it. It's out of control. You know, it's like the school teacher. If one of you throws a paper aeroplane at me, it's detention, but there's 25 of you doing it. There's not a lot I can do. So, yeah, thanks for starting that off in the chat, people. Sambi no longer, they're calling him. I like that one. I like that one. He's a marauding 8. Remember when he played DM and everyone said, wait until he plays attacking midfield. You'll see the truth. You'll see the Yaya Toure. I mean, I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting, people. But, hey, it is what it is. They put a picture up of LeBron James for him. Wouldn't surprise me, man. You know what they're doing? They're doing one of them. Oh, they all look the same. They're doing one of them. Cheers, Daily Mail. Scummy newspaper, mate. That's why I don't. You know what? I was thinking the other day, when's the last time I bought a newspaper? I remember when I was a kid. And, you know, in the days of teletext, if you know people, you know, teletext day, CFAX, 302, find out the latest news. And sometimes, especially on a Sunday, because you used to get loads of transfer news, I would buy a newspaper just to see the latest news. When's the last time you bought a newspaper? Like, who buys a newspaper anymore? Like, Daily Mail. Jeez. Like I said, let me not say too much anyway. But Sambi not going to Monaco. Disappointing for him. I think it would have been a really good loan move for him. And yeah, man, I think he'll be disappointed. He'll be disappointed. That would have been a good loan move for him. 302, man. Come on. CFAX on teletext, man. That's how you got your latest news. Remember they used to do them things like they'd put a headline like Bergkamp in talks with Arsenal and call this number. It's £1 a minute. You know what I mean? And you used to think, oh, I wish I could call that number and find out if we were signing him or not. It was all mad, people. But yeah, teletext days, man. Legendary settings. Ben Brown has packed Team of the Year Messi. Jeez. You must have some good karma, bro. I'm telling you. Because, boy, I mean, I don't even really play this FIFA. But have I ever packed a Team of the Year Messi? I definitely haven't. Man said they're putting Martin Luther King pictures up of Sambi Lokonga. It's all mad, people. It is all mad. But anyway, Bambi Shaw, Pete, that's just, it's taking it too far. There was a bobble on that pitch, people. That's how I felt. It's the only way. C-Unit business. I used to check cinema times on teletext. Trust me, man. Teletext holidays as well. Back in the day, it was all mad. It was all mad. Anyway, let's move on. Let's look at another player that's on his way out. And I think this one will happen. And that is my mate from the petrol station, a.k.a. Cedric Suarez, people. Looks as if this deal is near to completion. And do you know what I cannot believe with this deal, by the way, which I'm genuinely shocked about? Cedric has still got another season on his contract. I mean, when I say brown, you say envelopes. Brown, yeah, a few of you might have said envelopes. But anyway, Brown Envelopes FC, people. How this guy, let me put this into context, right? Cedric, listen, cool guy, not a terrible fullback in the context of things. 4-year contract for a player that Southampton were releasing. I mean, damn. No wonder Ralstonelli got sacked. He was probably building a new mansion just based off the Cedric Suarez and the Pepe deals. I mean, damn. I don't even think that's brown envelopes. I think that's like suitcases full of money, people. It's mad. Fulham are expected to complete the loan signing of Arsenal defender Cedric Suarez. Sources have told ESPN the two clubs have now agreed in principle a 6-month loan deal with no option or obligation to make it a permanent. Now, obviously, I know Sadiq, he was on a free. But ultimately, if you're getting released by Southampton, I'm not expecting you to end up a big six club. And if you do, I'm expecting you to maybe get a 2-year deal on a reasonable wage. They're saying he gets around 100 grand a week. I mean, unbelievable. Fair play to him. Fair play. Good move for him. 6-month loan with no option or obligation to buy. So in theory, if he doesn't do well, he's back at Arsenal in the summer. The deal doesn't make sense to me. Arsenal just seem to have this thing of We don't like money. I'm convinced that Arsenal don't like money. If you want a player from us, don't give us money for him. We'll just give him to you. I am reading here, by the way. Fabrizio put out that it was 100 grand a week. On Sportrack, it's saying his basic wage is 75 grand a week with easily achievable bonuses of up to 25 grand a week. So it's not 100 grand, it is 75 grand a week, his actual basic wage. And I'm sure he doesn't get that 25 grand often because that'll be including things like starting. Jashar, big up Curtis. I remember club call settings. I made the mistake of calling it. Mom nearly killed. Brother, £1 a minute. And you know they was going to tell you 5 minutes just to say, yeah, Bergkamp's in talks with Arsenal. But, you know, you're getting slapped up when your mum got that diamond cable bill, man. And there's, you know, a £15 phone call on there. It was all mad, people. Let me get into these couple of super chats. Ivan said this might mean we won't sign anyone. I hope not. I hope not. You know, obviously Sambi, the loan move being rejected. I think El Neni, if he is out for the season, that will force us into the market. He shouldn't have needed to be injured for us to do it, but you know Arsenal. And big up J. Angelo Huss with a super sticker. Appreciate that, bro. Pat said there's an article in the Daily Mail about Sir Alex with a picture of Colonel Sanders. Chris said, why does AFTV always get sweet and gentle, Curtis? Let me put it into context, because people have said this to me before, you know. They go, yo, on this channel, you know, it's raw and uncut, and on AFTV it's a lot more. Listen, man, when you go into your friend's house, when you was younger, and you go to your friend's house, you know, the mum and dad's there, hi miss, hi sir, do you want a drink? No thank you, all nice and polite. When you're in your own yard, you might walk upstairs with your trainers on. You know, you're blasting the music. You know, the dishes are in the sink. You know, mum ain't back from work yet. You know, you'll wait until 5 to 6 to get the dishes done. You do what you want to do. You're in your own house. I'm in my own house when I'm on here. So you're going to get the full version. You know, we just tailor it down. You take your trainers off at the door in someone else's house. I'm in my own house, so I break my own rules. It is what it is, people. So you see a more watered down version on AFTV. On here, I'm going to run wild. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Tell them, you got to be respectful. I'm not in my house. I can't come in with the trainers on. I'm not even in my own yard. On here, you're going to get the full madness. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, you know FIFA, you know, 5 days before FIFA drops, the demo comes out. You know, you can only play, like, regular mode. You can't even play Ultimate Team on there. This is the full version, Ultimate Team and everything. So yeah, man, you know how it goes, people. You know how it goes. Raw and uncut when you're in your own yard. It is what it is. Shawnology, you know I have to drop them on here, people. You know what I mean? But yeah, good question though. I have been asked that before. You take your shoes off at the door at your friend's house and mind your P's and Q's. You know how it is, man. Polite. I'm not in my yard. On here, it's wild. So, yeah, man, it is what it is. Let's move on, people. Let's talk about players potentially joining the club anyway. Cedric on his way out. Just as I was saying there, by the way, before I came away from that. Why not give them an option or obligation to buy? I don't understand that. I really don't get it. They want him. Apparently, the manager was really keen to get him. And a loan with no option. So, in theory, if he does bad, they'll go, oh, we don't want him. And you've got a 75 grand mess on your hands in the summer. He's got a year left. I would have said obligation to buy. Take him, even if it's 2 or 3 million. As I said, I'm convinced Arsenal don't like money. We don't sell players. We just give players away. But anyway, here's what it is, people. Right, let's move on. Let's talk about potentially buying players. And let's see if we believe these rumours or not, people. So the headline of today's show: Arsenal are being linked with a move for Juventus winger Federico Chiesa. Now, Chiesa apparently is not happy with... Chiesa's not happy with Allegri. In fact, his agent has come out and criticised Allegri, saying that Allegri is demanding too much defensive work from Chiesa and he's not getting the best out of him in his attacking... goal-scoring way. And apparently he's not happy. Now, we're going to break this down. Number one, I want to know, would you take him? Number two, we're going to discuss the story and the price. And we'll figure out whether there's any real, sense to this story or whether it's just, a newspaper reporter trying to fill an article. Chiesa, a couple of years ago, was being rated at 80-90 million pounds. People were saying one of the best players to come out of Italy in years. At Fiorentina, he was on fire. Got the big money moved to Juventus after a loan spell. The problem with Chiesa, he's just come back from an ACL injury. He's been out for just short of a year. 10 months he was out injured for with an ACL injury. He's 25 years of age. He's only just come back. I mean, a couple of years ago, I would have been going crazy for this deal. I thought he was an outstanding player a couple of years ago. Reminds me of an old school winger, like, right footer playing right wing, outpacing people. I was a big fan of him. Real big fan of him. Now, there's two stories. Football London saying he could be available for 20 million euros. I don't buy into that one bit. He's got 2.5 years left on his deal. He's on £150,000 a week. And Juventus paid £55 million for him. So I don't see how, with 2.5 years left, on 150 grand a week, they're going to take 20 million for him. The report coming out of Italy, Corriere dello Sport, not a great trustworthy source of info over there in Italy, saying that they would take 50 million euros for him, which is around 42 million pounds. I'm going to put a poll up. So, like I said, to add context, 150 grand a week, just come back from an ACL injury, which in football terms, an ACL injury is seen as one of the worst injuries that you can do in football. You're literally snapping the ligaments in your knee when you do that injury. Now, don't get me wrong. Some players, they do it, they come back the same. But some players are just not quite the same player from that. And the Premier League is not an easy league to come back from it. Would you sign Chiesa for £42 million, which is the story coming out of Italy? There's no way they'd sell him for £20 million. I just don't see that. Would you sign Chiesa for £42 million? I have to admit, I think he's a very exciting player. I really do. But on the back of that injury, he's going to want 4 or 5 years on his contract. He's 25 years of age. I don't. If I was Arsenal, I think it's a big risk. I think it's a big risk for a couple of reasons as well. Number one, you look at it, Saka and Martinelli are our wingers right now. Smith Rowe and Trossard, that completes the 4, right? You've got 4 quality wingers there. And then you've got Reece Nelson and Marquinhos as your 2 young wingers. So effectively, there's 6 players there. To go and get Chiesa, even though I think, honestly, I'm judging Chiesa on what I've seen before the injury. I thought he was fantastic and I would have been all over this deal. But Arsenal over the years, we've suffered with injury-prone players. Why would Juventus want to sell him? I know they're financially in debt, but there are players at Juventus that you would sell ahead of him. There's no way you would sell him before a lot of those other players. So, I don't know. Let me know in the comments, people. King Issa said, Big C, as a Juventus fan, he would elevate the Arsenal attack. Listen, in terms of talent, natural ability and talent, absolutely no doubt he elevates the quality of this side. The problem I've got is, he's been back for a few weeks from an ACL injury. For Arsenal, it's like crashing your car and I turn up at your door and buy your car off you at full price. Like, you've just crashed it. I need to see how good, it's recovered from the crash first. I'm not just coming in and giving you full price for it. It could be a write-off. So, if I was Arsenal, I got to be honest, I wouldn't do it. And I am conflicted on it because I think he's a fantastic footballer. But there's too many red flags for me. He's 25. He's going to want 4 5-year contract. He's on 150. The tax is lower in Italy, so we're going to have to probably pay him more than 150. They want £42 million. He'll want a 4 million signing on fee. We've got 4, 5, 6 wingers. For me, I wouldn't do it. I personally wouldn't do it. I would rather spend 40 million on a centre midfielder or a striker. I think they're 2 positions we need more. Cat D Chiesa, man, I'm telling you, Cat D Chiesa business. The car, man, you got to see what's going on more. Loan with an option to buy would be brilliant, but Juventus are in big financial difficulty. Are they going to allow a player of this quality to go on loan with just an option to buy, not even an obligation? Big up Big C, he's only played for 2 weeks this season. Yeah, he's only been back for a couple of weeks. I can see a lot of you, though, saying you take the risk. And I understand why you're saying that, because how I view Chiesa as a player, I think he's fantastic. And if you did bring him to the Prem for 42 million and that knee injury didn't affect him, you've probably signed a player that might be worth 80, 90 million, but you've got him for 43 million. But the problem is, if you pay 43 million, give him 170, 180, 5-year deal, and the knee injuries mashed him up, you ain't getting rid of him. No one's taking him off your hands for 4 or 5 years. Then what do? You're in a messy situation. OGD said, would you take Pogba? Listen, you know me, people. I'm a little shameless. Paul Pogba, depending on how the deal looked financially, I'd take Pogba. But it depends on the finances. I got to be honest. It depends on the finances. If you're getting him cheap, is he better than Sambi? Is he better than El Neni? Of course I would take Paul Pogba, but the deal would have to be cheap and the contract would have to be short. Just to rattle United fans, just to dab on United fans all day, you know what I mean? That's the only reason. But yeah, he's still a good player, but Pogba's very injury prone now as well. Pogba in the Xhaka role. Imagine Pogba and Partey in midfield with Odegaard, if you could get him playing. But I don't know. I think Pogba went to Italy because the Prem it weren't working for him, 30 years of age, few injuries. Well, Pogba said Arsenal were his favourite English club growing up. Whether he was an Arsenal fan or not, I don't know. But obviously he loved Thierry, as everybody really did. Christian said, big up Curtis. Arteta said today we are short in midfield. Seeing that it's January, what do you think we'll realistically spend on a midfielder? I mean, we're going to go into more detail as we move on to press conference reaction. But I think it's going to be a short-term fix in midfield. I think Arsenal have looked at the possibility of going big in this window with a centre mid. I think all your Declan Rice, your Caicedos, your Milinkovic-Savic, all these guys are going to stay at their club until the end of the season. So I think Arsenal would have to get probably somebody cheap or somebody on loan. Jonathan said, Pogba, are you serious? Bro, I'm telling you, listen, he's 30 and he's on big wages. So I'm not saying he was somebody that I would prioritise. I'm saying if you could get him out of there on the cheap, on like a 2-year deal, I would still say that, listen, not every player that you sign has to start for you every week. We've just signed Trossard. Trossard ain't going to start every week for Arsenal. I would take Pogba. That's a good option. You don't have to play him every week. He's still fantastic on the ball. Partey would do his dirty work. And you rotate him. You don't have to play him every. He has. I think his contract at Juventus is like 200 grand, and it's like 2 years. They haven't given him a long contract. But listen, we're not even linked with him, so let's not even get into it too much. He is injury prone in Italy as well. Yeah, with Chiesa, I just don't see it. I don't even really believe the article, if I'm being honest. But it'd be naive of me to ignore it, because if we end up signing him, then, I'm going to be like, why didn't I speak about it? I mean, at the moment, the poll, 55% of you would take the risk. And I hear it, because I'm a big fan of Chiesa. I remember before the injury, I was saying, I would love to get this guy to Arsenal. For me personally, this deal's got red flags all over it. Number one, if you look at the history of Italian football, big Italian clubs do not sell Italian players unless they think something is wrong, or you're massively overpaying for them, or something like that. Chiesa is 25. They were saying he was the best Italian winger around. He's had an injury, and all of a sudden Juventus willing to sell him. That tells me that there's something wrong. He's had a fallout with Allegri as well. I don't know. I'd be obliged to maybe say, give it 6 months and see how he recovers from that injury first. If it was a regular injury, then I don't care how many wingers we've got. I'll pay the money. ACL for me, mate. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Personally, I'm not doing it. I think that 42 million would be better spent on a midfielder or a striker. So, yeah, that's just my opinion. But if we signed him, I'd delete all of this and shamelessly, pretend he never got injured and just act like he'd never had an ACL injury. The game is the game, people. Chiesa carried Italy. Baller, but again, that was pre-injury when that happened. Chris said he's too brook up, not for me. Philip said I would not take Chiesa, very injury prone, too much heart on his own body. We're better off going for someone like Lozano as a backup. Juve finances are in the mud. Alex said his knee always clicks since he's done his ACL. Sané had an ACL, still looks good. Yeah, listen, like I said, Van Dijk had an ACL, although I don't think Van Dijk is quite the same player that he was pre-injury, if I'm being honest. If you notice now, Van Dijk is getting a lot of other injuries because the ACL, they basically have to rebuild your knee. So what happens when you get an ACL injury? It's not always the knee that is the most susceptible to getting injured. You start to pull your hamstring and calf strains, and it really affects you. Almost have to learn to run again. It's crazy. R9 had ACL. I mean, I think he did it twice, didn't he? But it ruined his career, but he still had a great career. But, Bellerin did do his ACL. And let's be honest, he wasn't the same player either. He was a bigger athlete. Listen, nowadays with the doctors that they've got and all the technology, you can recover from it. But it is crazy. It's a massive injury. Different levels of ACL, 10 months out, no thanks, says Graham. Ish said, Big C, did you have any big injury? I think the worst injury I did, I tore my thigh muscle. Turned up for a game once. This was like semi-pro football and didn't warm up properly. It was a cold night. Went to take a corner. As I've took the corner, just heard a pop. Thigh muscle had just popped and just pulled apart. I think I was out for about 4 months from that. But luckily, never had no major knee injury. Dom said Tory's ACL 3 times, no fun. Which position is likely to get ACL? Honestly, there's no position. You can jump in the air, land awkwardly, ACL. Centre-backs jump, strikers jump, midfielders jump. It is generally not a position-based thing. You look at... we've seen strikers do them. Anyone. It's just usually an awkward landing. Yeah, I should have stretched more. Jake said he snapped his ankle playing basketball. It gets in your head. It does. You have a bad injury, man. Mentally, it affects you. Wrong turn, ACL done. One of my boys did his ACL year 10 sports day. Van Dijk is still a top defender. Just needs a new environment. Anyway, let's skip that. Let's finish the poll. Would you take him? 56% of you saying you would take him. I hear it. You're still probably caught up on pre-ACL Chiesa, because I'm like a lot of you. I thought this guy was a great player. I actually was looking at him thinking he could be one of the best wingers around if he keeps developing. But if I was Arsenal, I wouldn't rush to get that deal done. Me personally, I think he's a great player, super talented. However, I wouldn't risk it. I always say buy what you need before you buy what you want. If you go shop, you want some cereal, come back with milk. Don't come back with a bottle of champagne. Just get the milk. And the milk is the centre midfielder for me. The poll tells the tale. Yeah, listen, people like him. We all like him. I don't think there's not many people in the chat that are going to be like, yo, Chiesa, I don't rate him. He's a quality player. The injury is very big. And also, the Premier League is one of the worst leagues to recover from that injury because it's so physical and demanding, Games every 3 days, 2 domestic cups. A lot of these other leagues, they only have 1 domestic cup. So, anyway, let's see anyway. 2.6k in the chat. Great support as always. Really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to the weekend. Obviously, Arsenal against Manchester City in the FA Cup, which... for some reason, I feel quite relaxed about the game. I think simply because it's the FA Cup and I really want to beat Man City to get that psychological advantage over Pep. But I'm also, and I don't want to sound defeatist with it, I want to beat Man City, but if we go out the FA Cup, I feel like it's not the end of the world. because I still look at our squad and think, do we have the squad depth to deal with 3 competitions? I'm not sure. I suppose the biggest damaging factor would be if we lose to Man City, that Pep's going to feel like I've still got their number. You know, they still can't come here and beat us because we don't really beat Pep Guardiola's Man City. So, on one hand, I really, really want us to beat Man City to make Pep lose his head. On the other hand, if we don't beat them, I don't think I'll be having a meltdown. But don't clip me on this, because if we go 1-0 down on Friday and I'm shouting down the house, you know, it looks like a massive contradiction. So it'll probably all change when the game starts. But yeah, for me, I said the other day, for me, the FA Cup is the third priority. The Premier League title, the Europa League, because we haven't won a European trophy for over 20 years, and then the FA Cup. That, for me, is the order of priority. But just imagine if we won the double. You know, I know I'm getting greedy here, but imagine if we won 2 trophies this season. You know, we can only dream, and we do. What do you guys think? Would you go full strength against Man City? Would you go full strength? Do you look at it like, look, they've had a week off, we got over a week until the league game the week after, go there full strength and just try and beat them? Would you rotate slightly, maybe bring in a Trossard or a Matt Turner or a Kieran Tierney? Or would you make wholesale changes? I don't think we can afford to make wholesale changes. Because if we make wholesale changes, we'll get battered. Because their squad depth and our squad depth is totally different. They're going to bring in man like Gundogan and Alvarez. We're bringing in Sambi Lokonga and Rob Holding. So we can't make multiple changes, that is for sure. Full strength, said Southern Gooner. Get the B team out, said N Gibbs. Not that bothered. Sadiq said we can beat them, go full strength. Gareth said full strength, slap them and make them nervous for the league. That's a good point, yeah. ESR and Trossard to start, so you would possibly change both wingers. Curtis, I would change the first 11, says Don. Let our bench players play. DV said, Big C, based on his press conference, he's going full strength. I think he's going to go full strength or really close to it, because I think for him it's psychological. He's looking at it like he knows that Pep Guardiola is a very psychological manager. And us going there and getting beat up by Man City could be damaging for that league game when we play them in 3 weeks. I think he knows you've got to get in Pep's head a little bit. You saw on the Man City documentary, for any of you that watched that, Jurgen Klopp was in Pep Guardiola's head. He felt like he couldn't get the better of that Liverpool team at one stage, and it really affected him. So I think we'll go close to full strength. I really do. I think he might make 1 or 2 changes, but I think he'll treat it like a Premier League game. I got to be honest. Let's talk about one more player that we're being linked with, and we spoke about this one the other day, but the story's starting to develop and not really in our direction. It's another Juventus player, and that's Weston McKennie, American defensive midfielder. Had a very good game against England in the World Cup. Interestingly enough, I don't know if anybody's seen this, but there was an article on Twitter yesterday, an American football website put out an article saying, would Weston McKennie suit Arsenal, with us being linked with him? And loads of Arsenal fans were saying, some were saying I'd take him on loan. And this one guy gave a real in-depth response saying, listen, Weston McKennie is not good enough on the ball for Arsenal. There's no way we should go near him. He's injury prone. And Weston McKennie's dad actually responded to the comment and said, you know, he had a go at the guy. But it surprised me because I thought he looked really good in the World Cup, and a lot of people were saying, don't go anywhere near this guy. He's not good enough. Juventus don't seem to rate him at all. I don't like to completely write a player off when they've gone to a big club and it hasn't worked, because sometimes the style of football doesn't suit you. You look at Arthur, who went to Juventus. He was very highly rated at Barcelona. He then went to Italy, a bit more physical, bit more defensive minded, and all of a sudden people were saying, you know, he's awful. So the league can suit you more. Maybe McKennie would suit a combative league a little bit more. He said, what you smoking? That was it. So he wasn't happy. The dad really wasn't happy. But he's had a number of injuries as well. And his injury record is definitely not the most positive either. So But listen, this one may be slipping away from Arsenal. There are two stories out. There was a story this morning. Weston McKennie's agent flew to London over the weekend for meetings with several Premier League clubs about a potential move. Apparently, he's turned down Aston Villa and Bournemouth, but has agreed personal terms to join Leeds. Arsenal are interested, but have not as yet made an official offer to bring McKennie to the club. They may be interested if Elneny is ruled out for the season. So, could it be a hijack? Could it be a hijack? You know, Everton yesterday, they thought Dan Juma was signing for them. He's ended up going to Tottenham. Are Arsenal waiting to get the response from Mohamed Elneny's, report on his knee to see if he's out for the season? Will they then move for Weston McKennie? Now, it's believed Juventus would be willing to let him go on loan or on a permanent. If you're taking him on loan, they want an obligation or an option to buy him. But it looks as if he's going to Leeds. I think Jesse Marsh, obviously an American coach. They've got a few American players there now. Aronson and Tyler Adams. And it looks as if maybe they've convinced him to go to Leeds. It isn't official yet. He's agreed personal terms. But they haven't actually agreed the deal yet with Juventus. Although it does say, according to the article, he would be much more keen to join Arsenal than join Leeds. Southern Gooner said, honestly, I think he'll end up at Leeds. He'd be a good bit of business for them. He'd be a very good signing for them. Southland has finally said, USA, USA. Listen, he had a good game against England, I can't lie. Bob said, why is Troops going to Leeds? Man said he's Troops, you know. What about Musa? Yeah, I thought Musa looked good when he played next to him. Not Arsenal level, said Be Kind. Shimos said, Weston's having a mare, Weston Supermare settings. If he ends up at Leeds, listen, again with me, where I get red flags with this deal, I'm looking at it like he's available on loan. He's a centre midfielder. You look at Manchester United, I think they need a midfielder at the moment to give them squad depth. Liverpool need a midfielder. They keep saying they need a midfielder. Arsenal need a midfielder. Chelsea have targeted Caicedo. They obviously want a midfielder. So you've got big clubs that need midfielders. This guy is openly on the market. Juventus have put it out there. If you want Weston McKennie, you can come and get him. And none of those clubs have looked to go and get him. Again, there has to be something wrong there, in my opinion. People saying Leeds is more like his level. He obviously came from Schalke, got the big move to Juventus. Juventus considering him a flop. So maybe he's not good enough to play at that level. I don't know. For me at the moment, I would like another option in midfield. Is he better than Sambi Lokonga? I'm pretty sure he is from what I've seen. But the injury concerns, he's on 50 grand a week wages. You can get him on loan. I would potentially take a risk on him on loan until the end of the season. I think he's better than what we've got in terms of Sambi Lokonga as backup and if Elneny's out for the season. So it's a tricky one, but it seems as if we're not interested in him, which we'll have to see, where we go with that one. Kyle says that Arsenal have been in talks with Onana and Everton in the last hours. From what I understand, it remains to be seen if they follow it with an offer. Other options are being looked at. So McKennie looks as if he's going to Leeds, but rumours that Arsenal are waiting in the background and could potentially try, maybe, and hijack if this injury to Mohamed Elneny is worse than what they think and rules him out for the season. So, Onana, what's my name, people? Rihanna and Drake, you know how that one goes. You were just talking about Onana there, so we'll bring him up. This deal looks as if, from what I'm reading, that it's not going to happen for Arsenal now. The reason being is that Everton are selling the club. But according to reports, the owner is willing to make one big sale before he leaves the club. Now, the problem is that Anthony Gordon, who they rejected £60 million from Chelsea for in the summer, he's in talks about signing for Newcastle for £40 million, which is strange. You rejected 60 in the summer, now you're going to sell him for 40. I mean, Onana didn't train yesterday. Everton are saying that it's down to an injury, But Gordon and Onana didn't train, and these are the two players being linked with a move. Is that just coincidence, or are they willing to let both go? It's believed Everton would want upwards of £50 million for him. 21 years of age. They paid 25 million for him in the summer. He's had a good season in a poor Everton team. But is he worth £50 million? I'm not sure I've seen enough to say 50 million. When you think Arsenal in the summer could probably go and get a Milinkovic-Savic or a Declan Rice or a Caicedo, I'm not sure. I do like him. 6'4", 6'5", big, 21 years of age, quick. He's a unit. He would give us real presence and power in midfield. I'm just not sure Arsenal are going to drop £50 million on him in this window. If Anthony Gordon goes to Newcastle, they're not then desperate to sell. He's definitely better than Sambi, but to run, you might be better than Sambi. I'm not even capping. So, yeah, with this Onana one, I don't know. You can see the chant already, can't you? You know, Onana, what's my name? You can see it. It is what it is, people. I think Everton fans would riot. If they sell Gordon and Onana, they're relegated. You know, they're done, aren't they? You know, and that's the problem. But the chairman selling the club, he might think, so what? You know, I'll just sell them on the way out. Pick up my money and let them get relegated. But a club that is trying to avoid relegation will sell for less money. So that's also the problem. That's also the problem for Everton. So, yeah, we'll have to see. But Onana doesn't look like it's happening at the moment. And is he worth 50 million? Mr. Krabby said White was 50 mil. Nobody thought he was worth it. True, true. You know, you sign a player, you expect them to improve when they come to us. Jonathan said Onana is good, but nothing special about him. 50 million is too much. Zubimendi on deadline day. I mean, I think he came out and said he would move in the summer. He wants to finish the season. But maybe we can force him out the door. I rate him, but I'm not sure 50 million. But if we spent it, why not? You know, it's not my money. We pump enough money into the club. So, you know, if they went for it, it is what it is. But Daily Mail, again, horrible newspaper, but they've just put out a story saying that Arsenal's intention is to get a midfielder before the window closes. So I would love to see a quality midfielder come in. Sadiq said Onana is a great tackler, decent passing, height in the team. Arteta can improve him. I would like to see, you know, a 6'4", 6'5" midfielder would offer us something that we don't have in terms of real physical presence. Although Partey is quite strong, actually, but maybe not as tall. 35 million plus Sambi. I think they'd just want the 35 million if that was the offer. Everton are willing to pay up to 28 million for Hakim Ziyech. Chelsea are considering letting him go. If I was him, I would not be going to Everton. Yeah, he could be in the Championship. I actually think Ziyech is a very good player. If he wasn't nearly 30, I think he'd get a much bigger club. We nearly signed him before he went to Chelsea. I think he chose the wrong club. But yeah, man. Over 3,000 of you in the chat. Make sure you like the video, people. Subscribe to the channel. A few little whispers today about Tariq Lamptey. Which, again, I don't really see this one happening. But there's a report that Arsenal are keeping an eye on Tariq Lamptey in case they don't get this deal done for Fresneda at right back. Obviously, with Cedric Suarez on his way out of the door. Let me just bring the story up. It's coming out of the Daily Mirror. Daily Mirror reporting. Just read the story. Arsenal could be back in for Brighton right back Tariq Lamptey as they seek further options at right back with Cedric Suarez on his way to Fulham. The Ghana international has not been a regular starter for Brighton this year and could be available for around £30 million. Arsenal are potentially seeking a more attacking option with Tomiyasu and Ben White seen as more defensive options. Would you take Tariq Lamptey for £30 million? I actually like him. I think he's a good fullback. Again, the problem with this for me, I don't think Arsenal need to spend £30 million on a right back in the January transfer window. You know, we need a central midfielder way more than we need a right back. I like him because he's quick and he's attacking, and I do look at our two right backs, and the one thing that I would say is that they are both quite defensive minded, and I wouldn't mind. Imagine Lamptey on the overlap of Saka. I think that would be decent going forward. It's just not a priority signing for me. Fabrizio said he could leave before the end of the window. Let's get another poll up. Why not? Would you pay 30 million for Tariq Lamptey? I actually think he's a good player. I actually like him. Because I do think, if you look at the modern game, a lot of these fullbacks are very attacking. And we don't really have an attacking right back. I just don't think it's a priority. And he has seemed to have got injured a little bit. Which is, I don't know where. It may be because he's very quick. Sometimes quick players, hamstring injuries, pull muscles and stuff like that, seems to be getting injured a lot this season. A couple of years ago, they were talking about £50 million to get Lamptey. Now it seems as if they're willing to let him go, which is always a worrying sign for me. I'd pay $30, says Dre. What's his age and stats? I mean, Lamptey he played in the World Cup, didn't he, for Ghana after changing. He's 22 years of age. This season, 16 games, 10 starts, 6 substitutes appearances. So he started 10 Premier League games out of 20 for Brighton. It's a tricky one. The injury-prone thing is the problem. I just think, listen, if you spend 30 million on him and don't get a midfielder, that for me is the wrong move. If you buy the centre mid, then you want to get a right back as well, then I don't mind it. But if it's no other signings, like Chris said, if it meant no other signings, I wouldn't be on it. Chris said, Curtis, would you take Fabinho? I would take Fabinho. I know he's been poor this season, but I think he's shown at Liverpool when they were at it. You were talking about, most people were saying Fabinho and Rodri, the two best DMs in the Premier League. You've probably added Casemiro and Thomas Partey to that now. But yeah, I wouldn't mind Fabinho. I know he's out of form, but I wouldn't write him off. Cool said, Curtis, I'd stay away from Everton players. They're not good. Even my Everton fan mate mentioned the same. Sometimes, I think what you got to understand is, when a team is really out of form, which Everton are terrible this season, you can look good and not necessarily be that good. So we're all going, yo, this Onana looks like a beast. He's 21, very physical, very fast. But you're in a team that's absolutely dreadful. So you don't actually have to play that well to look like a very good player. They're a really bad team. So that's the difficulty, It's hard. Sometimes you look at a player and you can go, like Fabinho, out of form, don't want him. But actually, he's a very good player that's in a team that's struggling, probably still a good player. It's hard to weigh up. Sometimes you can get a bargain at the right moment. A player's at Everton, they're struggling, get him. Players at Liverpool, not playing well, get him on the cheap. You bring them into a confident environment and their game steps up all of a sudden. So big up to you for the super chat. Make sure you like the video. Over 3,000 of you in the chat. I want to hit 60k by next Tuesday. The deadline day triple stream will be next Tuesday. Shaw Sports News in full effect. I want to try and hit 60k by then. We need about 1,800 subs. So I think we can do that. Big up Gunnar Mutley, who said, big up Curtis and C Unit. Just wanted to say thanks for giving his Nana shout out a few weeks ago. She passed sadly, and that day showed me and my Nan love, bro. I will never forget that. Hey, thoughts go out to you and your family, bro. Appreciate you tuning in. And yeah, man, apologies for your loss, man. But big up to everyone who obviously gave you kind words. Appreciate you tuning in. Hopefully we can lift your spirits slightly, bro. Big up to you. Let's move on. Let's get into press conference reaction, people. Let's hear what Mikel Arteta had to say. 60k PS5 giveaway. Boy, I don't know about that. Inflation is really real right now. I can't lie. Yeah, big up everyone who's bigging up Gunnar Mutley as well. Cone Man Music Business. It's that time. I actually saw some clips of this press conference, and the press conference was nearly 13 minutes. So you can imagine how much waffle that is. That's like all you can eat waffle. And none of us have got time to go through that. So it's going to be a skip through as he goes head to head with his old protege, his old boss, should you say. I saw a picture. Pep Guardiola is the master, they said. And Pep, they were saying Vincent Kompany, top of the championship. Xavi, top of the Spanish league. Mikel Arteta, top of the Premier League. All people that have worked with Mikel Arteta. You know, Pep is sort of the master in here, and they all learn from him. And obviously all of his students are prospering at the moment. And big up Mark, who said he lost his nan before Christmas. Thoughts with Hugo and Motley. Big up Mark as well, man. Appreciate you tuning in as well. And sorry for your loss as well. Let's skip through this because it's a very long waffle. Coleman music settings, people. How do you beat Pep Guardiola? How do you beat him? I told you. Slap him round his bald head. That's how you deal with him. He's losing his head at the moment. He's being booed by his fans, even though he's the best manager that they've ever had. Get well soon, Jordan, as well, man. Big up, bro. Keep strong, man. Keep strong. I appreciate you tuning in. He said, Arsenal, keep him going. Stay strong, Jordan, man. We got you, bro. And big up Yasser as well. Hope you're well, bro. Hope the family's well. You go up to Pep. You pull out some Brill cream. And you slap him round that bald head and say, hold that, boy. I don't care what you taught me. I'm about to take over from you right now. It's like Game and 50, man. You know, 50 taught Game. Game said, listen, I'm trying to be the boss. Didn't work out. That's how he's going to have to move right now. On how strong a team he is going to field, he says there's no more news on the team, especially no more injuries. Obviously, we have the 2 more recruits we made in this window. It's a big match, big test for us, in my opinion, against the best football team in the world. I'm looking forward to it because it will tell us a lot about where we are. Would you say Man City are the best team in the world, people? They're definitely one of the best teams, that's for sure. Real Madrid, Champions League winners. Barcelona, top of that league. Arsenal, top of the league. Listen, it's still the most difficult team to play against in the Prem, that's for sure. And he's always going to show Pep a lot of respect. On how quick Trossard has made an impact in the Man U game, he said, that's what I like. I see a player that is willing to make things happen and is especially composed in the final third. And he's something we need to add to the team straight away. He had a beautiful impact to help us win. I think there's a possibility Trossard starts on Friday. He said, don't worry, I got Amazon deliveries at the door. Man's banging down the door. Yamin Waffles, sipping syrup, about to bang some City Lights on some Coleman music. Yeah, we'll go for him, man. I think there's a possibility Trossard starts. Martinelli's had a couple of quiet games. And even if we go at full strength, I think there is an argument there to say, do you go with Trossard left wing? I think Martinelli might need a break. He puts a lot into the games. He's constantly running at 100 miles an hour. Hold on 1 second, people. Yeah, give him that code. He needs that code, apparently. Man's got to give passwords to get deliveries off Amazon, people. It's all mad. What's going on? But yeah, I think Trossard might start left wing. This is what you get when you're live, people. I'm trying to just collect the delivery. Man's asking for a password. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, on whether Jacob Kivior's versatility means we don't need any more signings this window, please don't ask him questions like that. You're giving him an escape clause. Just because this guy has played in centre midfield before doesn't mean I want this guy playing in centre midfield in the Premier League for Arsenal. He's a centre-back. They tried to do this with Ben White. Oh, Ben White can play. No, by the way, it's not new merch, by the way. It's not new merch, I promise you. My microphone actually broke yesterday, 5 minutes before I went live with Kevin Campbell. Luckily, I had my old microphone, so I had to use that. So if the sound ain't as good today, I'm using the old mic. They sent me the replacement mic. But the man's asking for a password at the door. Just give me the damn delivery, bro. What's wrong with you? But yeah, just because this brother can play CDM in an emergency, you ain't playing CDM in the Prem for Arsenal, bro. Play centre-back and do your job. We need a midfielder. He said he gives us more cover. We've been with 3 central defenders for the first part of the season. I suppose 4 if you was to add Ben White, but he's playing right back. Let me skip through that as well. On his relationship with Pep, how it has changed now they're vying for the title. He said, I always hoped that a title challenge was going to be the case one day, and it's happening this season. Let's skip it. And if Martin Odegaard has given any advice on how to handle Erling Haaland. He said, no, I think they're 2 players in top form. How do you handle Haaland, man? But if you look at Haaland this season, he hasn't really, I said spending big. He hasn't done that great against a lot of the big boys this season, Haaland. I can't lie. He got handled away at Liverpool, didn't score away at Chelsea, didn't score away at United. Obviously, he did slap Man United in the home game. But, you know, we need to get hold of him. Don't give him space. And Saliba and them, man, need to rough him up a little bit, I think. You saw the other week when he did that meme where he was like, buh, 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 against Ben Godfrey. Godfrey was roughing him up a little bit. That's why. Maybe he's the twerk champion CDM, eh? It is what it is. But on if there has been much attention to his touchline passion, yeah, they're all crying about him and what he's doing on the touchline. He said, I don't know. I focus on things I can do better for sure. There are things I can do better. On if Eddie Nketiah can maintain his form, he said, that's the challenge we all have. Not only Eddie, to be at that level, but at a better level every single day. Can Eddie maintain that form? There was a big debate on Sky today. And the question they were asking was, when Gabriel Jesus comes back, does he come straight back into this team ahead of Eddie Nketiah, or does Nketiah keep him out of the team? I think Gabriel Jesus is a better all-round footballer, but I think Eddie Nketiah he feels hungrier for a goal than Gabriel Jesus. I feel like Jesus does a lot of dirty work. He'll get you 10 to 12, maybe 15 goals a season. I think Eddie, the way he plays, he's in the penalty area a lot more, probably more of a goal scorer than Gabriel Jesus. I think Jesus is one of them players that improves the players around him. I think Martinelli was playing better next to Jesus, but Eddie will probably, you know, himself maybe, yeah, a little bit more selfish. He's a pure goal scorer in that sense, you know. Let's skip through and get through this waffle quick, people. He said, on what he's been doing on developing a winning mentality, I think the key word would be belief. When we were 1-0 down against Man United, you could still see we could go on and win it. We managed the emotion in the game in a much better way. On whether the club is more united now than ever, he said, I wouldn't like to compare to the past. I'm extremely proud of how everyone is contributing. Let's skip it. On Zinchenko's impact, he said he's a player that gives us everything we want in that position, gives us versatility, gets a lot of attention as well, fills a lot of spaces, and that for us is really important. I mean, you feel like at the moment, don't you, that Kieran Tierney is going to have a decision to make in the summer, because he's a very good left back, and I'm sure he's not going to be happy sitting on the bench. But this is what happens at big clubs, man. Big clubs have big players on the bench. That's part of being near the top. People saying, let's see what Eddie does against City. Yeah, listen, I said after the Tottenham game that let's see what he does in these big games, or before the Tottenham game. Didn't score against Tottenham, but got 2 against Man United. So he answered that question. He needs to, you know, keep doing that in these big games. Man City away is the biggest test. Dooley said, what's up, Curtis? Greetings from Vancouver. Dedicated Gooner. Big up to you, bro, from Canada. Big up everyone tuned in. Let's get through this quick. On if the 3 games against City will define our season, he said it would, because on Friday, if we're able to win and go through to the next round, and they won't, and if they beat us, it will be the opposite. Groundbreaking stuff there from Mikel Arteta. I never knew that, Mikel. If we win, we go through to the next round, and if we lose, we're out. Beautiful stuff, Mikel. Beautiful stuff. We've always said we need a different striker to Jesus, and I think Eddie is that guy. He plays more as a fox in the box. Yeah, he's in the box more, which is better. And that is something that I've said with Gabriel Jesus when he was playing. I want to see that more. You know, don't do that Lacazette running to left back and all that. I want to see you in the area sometimes. Let me just end that poll, by the way, that I had. Would you pay 30 million for Tariq Lamptey? 37% say yes. 63% say no, so not interested in Lamptey. Alfred with the super chat. Eddie is a better goal scorer. He leads the line better. Jesus is a more skilled Lacazette. Bring players into play, but really in the box for a cross. I wonder now if when Gabriel Jesus comes back, if he's going to think, do you know what? I need to score more goals. I'm doing all this work, But Eddie's getting all these, plaudits from just bagging. So it'll be interesting how he plays when he comes back, Gabriel Jesus. Also, it seems as if this knee injury is worse than what they first thought. So it may take him a while. And if he is competing with City earlier than he planned to, he said, I don't know, but this league brings you incredible challenges. You have the best coaches in the world and the best coach in the world. Obviously, he's referring to Pep. And if Mohamed Elneny will be fit, he said, I don't think he will be. He's had some issues with his knee that we are assessing at the moment, and I'll have to see how it evolves in the next couple of days. On whether it could be a long-term injury, he said, there are some concerns, especially as Mo never complains about anything, but let's see. As I said earlier in the show, people, and anybody just tuning in, Mohamed Elneny could be out for the rest of the season, which surely would force Arsenal to go into the market and bring in a midfielder. As Elneny he would have been the backup player to Thomas Partey, not Sambi Lokonga, so we'll have to see with that one. Then goes on to say on whether he would have enough in midfield after Kivior's injury. He said, we need some more cover in midfield, ideally if we can. But in this market, it is pretty complicated to do that. As I always say, the most important thing is that we get the performances and the time on the pitch that we need. That we have the players available today are already good. And as I said, Kivior for me, just because the guy's played midfield, that ain't the midfielder that we need, to be performing. He's not a natural midfielder. I can't see him coming in the Prem, playing centre mid and taking it by storm. He's a defender / somebody that can play in midfield. Go and get a specialist centre midfielder that can play there, We don't want to patch it up. And if it feels more special pitting his wits against a close friend, he said, I would prefer to do it against someone else because I want the best for him. When you are challenging someone like this, something comes in between, so it's a strange feeling. It is what it is, and that's our challenge. Listen, Mikel, no friends in football, my friend. Turn that team over. If you want to have a glass of wine with Pep after, have a glass of wine, but win the game. You know what I mean? Win the game. And then deal with it. Don't worry. No friends. No friends. No new friends. No. Who was that? Drake, innit? Yeah, no friends, man. On how Guardiola reacted to us signing Jesus and Zinchenko. He said it was done in a really nice way between the clubs, especially between us, him and Guardiola, because you have to do it respectfully. It was all agreed by everybody, as you've read and heard. It was a decision between three parties. And I've said this many times. Oh, football friends. Oh, I used to work for Pep, so we're good friends. It feels weird if we beat them. Nah, bond that. Go and turn the team over. Don't even shake hands after the game if necessary. Storm off down the tunnel. It's all over. The friendship's a mess. Make up after football. You know what I mean? You remember Wenger and Ferguson? They're best mates now all of a sudden. They've retired. And even Wenger and Mourinho are hugging each other now. During the football days, these man was having scraps on the touchline. I don't want to hear about football friends. I don't care if you work with him. Clearly, Pep Guardiola sold Jesus and Zinchenko to Arsenal because he thought, they're no worry to me. They just finished 5th. Man City had just win the league. Yo, bro, what are you saying? Yeah, you want Zinchenko? Yeah, man, 35 mil to you. You're my boy. What, you want Gabriel Jesus, 45? Yeah, take him. It's cool, man. Good luck. Let's hope you, man, get 4th. While City win the title. That's what Pep thought. More than you can believe, people. More than you can believe. And now, look, top of the league. This is why the guy's head's rolling off. I told you. But yeah, when you shake his hand, squeeze his fingers together and just stare at him. You'll be like, yo, Mikel, just squeeze his fingers and just look at him. And then just turn around slowly and walk off. He won't know what's going on. I'm telling you, he won't know what day it is. He'll be shocked. More than you can believe, people. More than you can believe. And if the situation at the former club makes him sad. Everton is referring to it. It does because it's a club he loves. He's very grateful. We'll skip that. On Gabriel Jesus suggesting he could be back in 4 or 5 weeks. With him, I don't know. He wants to be in next week. That's obviously totally unrealistic, but he's pushing and driving everybody. I cannot give you an answer. Hopefully, it will be weeks and not months. But it was a serious injury, and we need to respect that process as well. I've said this many times, and I'll say it again. Break his hand if you have to. More than you can believe, people. More than you can believe. No friends with Pep. We'll speak in 6 months when we've won the title. Gabriel Jesus, this injury really worries me because he's been out now since the start of December. We're about to leave January. So you're looking at nearly 8 weeks, and they're still saying, they're not giving any clear indication. The man's saying, I hope it'll be weeks and not months. You're nearly 2 months in. You told us this was, people were saying this was 8 to 10 weeks when he got injured. You're now saying, I hope it's not months, and we're nearly in February. If it's months, you're looking at the rest of the season. And I genuinely think that Arsenal didn't want to reveal how long Jesus was out for because we were looking for a striker. We clearly wanted to sign João Felix, and they didn't want the club and clubs out there to be aware that, hey, Jesus could be out all season. Arsenal are on the market looking for a striker. So if they turn up for a £50 million striker, we're going to charge you 80 million. I genuinely think that they were really worried about how long. Now, apparently, Jesus told Khabib, people are saying that it was 4 to 5 weeks. I think he told some of the YouTube guys who were there as well that it was 4 to 5 weeks. And that was a week ago. So, let's hope by the end of February he's back. Magesh said, I think we are going to win against Man City in all 3 games. I hope so. The crazy thing is, if we beat them this Friday, I think we beat them in 3 weeks at the Emirates in the league game because I think we're unbelievable at home. And then if we beat them in those 2 games, Pep's head might have gone and we get them the 3rd time as well. So that is kind of why I do think this game is such a big game, because if we beat them in this FA Cup game, it's a slippery slope for Pep. And he doesn't seem to handle, defeat very well. His head goes. He's almost so intelligent, he can't deal with a defeat. On Gabriel Jesus' impact behind the scenes, he said he's been incredible with the boys, the staff, everyone around the club, his energy and how positive he is. He's always giving them advice. He's always been terrific. The positives I take from Jesus, he's putting up videos on a bike. If your knee is still in a bad way, you don't go on an exercise bike. Also, he was picking players up when he was hugging them after the game against Man United. You don't put that kind of weight on your knee if your knee is still shaky. He's obviously able to put a lot more weight on his knee now. So hopefully, maybe in 2 or 3 weeks he's back on the training ground, and maybe 4 or 5 weeks we get him back in the team. He will be like a new signing when he comes back, that is for sure. But anyway, let's skip through. On having 50 points from 19 games, what we are doing gives us enthusiasm and hope to dream. We know the reality is there is half a season to play. On being the favourites to win the title, he said, we cannot control that. But what I would say is when you look at what happened over the last few seasons, that wouldn't make a lot of sense. But okay, we accept that. He's obviously referring to the fact, Manchester City many times have been behind and have clawed back points and won titles. This is the reality. You can clearly see that Mikel Arteta doesn't want to put crazy pressure on his team. He doesn't want to come out and say, yeah, we're favourites to win the title. We've got a young team. They've never been in this situation. Outside of Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus, how many of these players have won league titles before? Not many of them. So I think he's trying to play it down. I'm going to be honest. I still think Manchester City are the favourites to win the league, just because of the squad depth, in my opinion. However, that can change very quick. If we win the game in hand, that's 8 points. If we beat Manchester City in 3 weeks and we win our other 2 games, that's 11 points. If we go 11 points clear of Man City and we've beaten them once in the league, I would probably say something different. 5 points clear of Manchester City with their squad depth is still not enough, in my opinion, for me to say hand on heart that we're the favourites. When you get to March and you're playing Europa League on Thursday, big Premier League game on the weekend, Europa League again on Thursday, then another big game, and you've got to rotate. Their level of rotation, they're going to be playing Champions League, not Europa League. Their level of rotation is different. They've got Cancelo on the bench, can't get a kick. Gundogan's on the bench. Laporte was on the bench. Kyle Walker's been on the bench. Alvarez. They're the players they're bringing in, in FA Cup games and Champions League games. We can't do that. We've got certain positions where, you can bring in a Tierney, which is equally as good. you can bring in, maybe a Trossard or somebody like that, Smith Rowe, Fabio Vieira. But you look at the midfield, they're bringing in Gundogan, we're bringing in Sambi Lokonga. It's just not a level playing field. Kyle Walker off the bench, one of the best right backs in world football. So that's my only issue. Trossard's in, Kivior's in. Go and get a centre midfielder for me would be the thing I would say to Arsenal. I think the problem is Xavi's come out today and said Frank Kessie's not going anywhere. He keeps him till the end of the season. That's a player I would have gone for on loan. That's out the window. Weston McKennie we've spoken about today. He's agreed terms with Leeds. We could probably jump in and grab him, but it doesn't seem like we're really desperate to get him. So that's another one that we could have got on loan easily. Gravenberch, there was rumours that he was available on loan. Bayern Munich have come out today and said no, he stays until the end of the season. Camavinga, Ancelotti said, going nowhere, stay until the end of the season. This is a difficult market to get a midfielder. Your Onanas, your Caicedos, your Declan Rice, they're all quality, they're all expensive, they all look more like summer deals than deals you can get done now. Zubimendi has said he wants to stay at Sociedad until the summer. So who are we going to get to come in midfield? The funny thing with Arsenal, we get linked with somebody and end up buying somebody that you've never heard of. Trossard's story was there, but it didn't look like we were really going for him. Next minute, the deal was done within 24 hours. We'd never heard of this Kivior guy. Next minute, he'd signed him. So Arsenal probably end up signing a midfielder that we've never heard of or somebody we didn't expect. That's an interesting one, Bob. I think that Ward-Prowse, I'm really surprised he hasn't been signed by a Big Six club yet. I think over the past year, he's become a very good player. I think there's a flip side sometimes to being an English player. On one hand, sometimes they're overpriced and it's English tax. But on the other hand, you're not a glamorous enough signing, so people won't go for you. I think James Ward-Prowse is a solid midfielder. Honestly, he's a leader. He's amazing at set pieces. I don't think that's a bad signing, honestly. But the only thing with him, he's not that quick, and he is 28, and he's a boiled Southampton fan. Would he want to leave and let them get relegated? Any midfielders that you want to suggest, people? Who do you think we should target? Jonathan says Kimmich or Rice. I don't think you've got no chance of getting Kimmich off Bayern. Declan Rice in the summer we could get. He'd cost 80 million at least, I think. Drip said I'd like to see Tielemans or Rice. I mean, I think Rice would be in the summer. Tielemans possibly. Peter said you should do a stream every day while the window is open. Yeah, I'm live pretty much every day. I usually have maybe one day off a week. Mark said James Ward-Prowse would be a good sign-in. I think he'd be a good squad player. Yasser said Bruno Gomes. We're not getting him now. Newcastle are rich. He's one of their best players. They're flying as well. You'd have to pay a fortune for him. Chris said, Curtis, I'd be more worried about the opposite. We've watched City come back from bad losses so far. There's only one team we don't know about. It will be interesting when we play them. Zubimendi is an idea. I think he's put out an article saying that he won't leave Sociedad until the summer. It's his boyhood club. They're having a good season. He wants to finish the season and then leave. Amrabat, Milinkovic-Savic, Barella. I mean, I like all three of them. Amrabat had a great World Cup. Fiorentina said £50 million, by the way. So you're looking nearly 60 million euros. Is it World Cup hype? Is he worth 60 million euros, 50 million quid? That's risky. Milinkovic-Savic, they're not going to sell him until the summer. I think he's a very good player. I'd sign him in the summer. Not getting him now. Barella, I think clubs tried to sign him last summer. He seems very committed to Inter. These big Italian players, they're not always desperate to leave Italy. That's the thing. They seem to love it over there. Big up Curtis, best platform, Gunners for life. Big up to you, Villagers, Jamaica. William Carvalho is available. Yeah, 2015, I might have took that deal. Not now. Ibrahima Bamba, 30 million release clause. Go back for Aouar. He's out of contract in the summer. It's funny, isn't it? We chased Aouar for 2 years. We was going to pay 50 million for him. He's got 6 months left. He could probably get him for 10, 15 million. No one's interested in him. It's amazing how hype disappears. Barella is Inter's best player. I don't think we could get him. Sangare from PSV, good player. Signed a new deal in the summer. Had a very good game against Arsenal. Gabriel said Bellingham would be amazing. We got no chance. The only chance you get Bellingham, you win the title. And then all of a sudden he might look at you and go, do you know what? He was talking about Liverpool and Real Madrid, but the rumour is he wants to come back to England. If you win the title, I think you've got to go in and try and scupper that deal. I really do. Me and Kev were talking yesterday. Kev was saying he'd sign Declan Rice over Bellingham. I wouldn't. I would sign Bellingham ahead. Now, listen, the problem is Man City want him, Liverpool want him, Real Madrid want him. So the price is going to be unbelievably high. Are Arsenal at a point where they're going to drop £120 million on a player? Because that's what I think he would cost. If Mudryk cost €100 million, Bellingham's going to cost 20, 30 million pounds more than that. He's arguably the best young midfielder in world football, along with maybe Tchouameni and Pedri and one or two others, Camavinga. He's going to cost a fortune. I just don't know if we spend that kind of money. Can you imagine a midfield of Jude Bellingham and Thomas Partey? I mean, unbelievable. If we won the title, honestly, I'd be trying to do that deal. El Chapa said, Big C, can we buy Neymar in the summer? I mean, listen, number one, I don't think Neymar's got any interest in coming to the Premier League. He's never seemed interested in coming to the Prem. Would PSG let him go? It's not going to happen, is it? It's sad, though, because, they're the kind of players that, maybe not now, but they're the players we should have been going for. Jude Bellingham to Arsenal confirmed, if only. Negotiate for Xavi Simons. I like him. I think he's a quality player. Locatelli. I mean, we tried to get him. He put up a picture the other day of the Juventus badge. I think he said always Juve or something. I think he was sort of indicating that even if they're in financial difficulty, he doesn't want to leave. So, yeah, we're more likely to sign Joe Bellingham, his younger brother. I think he's at Birmingham City now. He's like 17. That would be so typical of Arsenal, wouldn't it? We want Bellingham and they'll sign Bellingham, but it's his younger brother. You could see that happening. Curtis, what about Messi? Yeah, I mean, yeah. We can dream, can't we? We can dream. Messi either signs a new deal or he'll go MLS. He's not going to come to the Prem. Again, another player. Don't think he ever was really interested in the Prem. I'd rather Mbappe. I mean, again, for him to leave, he's going to only go Madrid, really, isn't he? He's on, what, €1 million a week? I don't think anyone in the Premier League really would be able to pay his wages. Just think Wenger was in his house with him and his dad and left without him. Thanks a lot, awesome, mate. I would have said to him that day, I don't leave this house until you sign the contract. No matter where we have to get to financially, whatever you need, I don't leave this house until you sign for my club. To me, if the dad and the player invite you into their house for a personal meeting, that means they are interested in signing for your club. That means whatever Arsene Wenger said in that house was not satisfactory. He probably said all kinds of stupidness to him and flopped the deal. Man should have left with Mbappe. Instead, left with nothing. Cheers, awesome, mate. Anyway, people, thank you very much for tuning in today. I've been on for nearly an hour and a half. Great show today. Great interaction as always. 3,000 of you in the chat. I'll be back on tomorrow. We'll preview the game in more detail. We'll look at potential starting lineup. We'll look into Pep Guardiola's press conference, who's available for City, how we should line up. Hopefully we'll get some transfer news. Daily Mail saying that Arsenal's priority is to get a midfielder before the window closes next Tuesday. I will be doing 3 streams next Tuesday on transfer deadline day. Shaw Sports News Takeover. Might try and get Ben Jacobs on Monday to talk transfers as well. Enjoy the rest of your day, people. Keep it locked. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all tomorrow, people. Bless.